And welcome back to another episode of the ABCs of ERP Beyond, a podcast all around enterprise resource planning and exploring what's out there. If you're looking at new ERP, if you're coming off of something like QuickBooks, you need to find out what ERP means and what does it do for a business. How does it transform a business? How does it optimize some of your processes? If you are interested in any of that and seeing how an ERP can support a modern day business, well, this is the podcast for you. We shoot every 2 weeks, or a new episode, I should say, comes out every 2 weeks. And we cover everything from the ground up for specific cases. So make sure you like and subscribe for more content if you're interested in what ERP can do. And this time, for this episode, we are shooting this, I wouldn't say as an emergency podcast, but it's hot out of the oven. We just landed, we just got back from Acumatica Summit 2025. From the Wynn Casino, Las Vegas, straight on the strip, to hear everything about Acumatica and what they've done and what's coming out soon. And there was far too much exciting stuff to not do an episode about this. Yeah. In fact, Nirav, I think we walked out of one of the keynotes in the morning and we went, boom, there's our next episode.
Exactly.
Here we are shooting it.
And we're here. And I'm happy to report that I did not win a jackpot in Vegas, so the podcast continues. I have not.
That sounds like you were going to ditch it if you won Mega Millions.
Not at all.
That's a shame. That's a real shame.
Not at all.
Here I was thinking that if you'd won, you would have bought us a nice podcast studio. But you're saying that you would have run to the hills. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
Thanks for that.
No, but it was great. It was great. I mean, first, having you at Summit was awesome. I mean, you had come there because your company is also now going down this path of looking at implementing Acumatica, which is fantastic. So this was a great opportunity for you to learn the ecosystem and kind of see what Acumatica is all about. It was my third summit. As a partner, we're kind of like obligated to go. We have to go to the summit. So it's always fun. It's always nice to see what Acumatica is doing with the product, what Acumatica is doing with the roadmap, seeing new faces coming into the community, seeing old faces and stuff that they're up to. So it's great. The community is growing every year. This was another successful event at the Wynn. This is going to be the last event at the Wynn, unfortunately. If anyone has been to Las Vegas and specifically at the Wynn's a beautiful property, great place to have a conference, but unfortunately our time there has run out, and they are moving Acumatica Summit for next year, which we'll talk about here shortly. But it was great. It was fun, and we have a lot of stuff to dive into for Acumatica Summit 2025.
Yeah, it was really good, and I'm glad I managed to go. So massive thanks to everyone that pulled that off for ITW. It's kind of testament to what we've seen, at least what I've seen over the last couple of years. When we talked about Acumatica, it's never been on the radar before at my company. But the more we see it, we start to think, okay, we should really start to take this seriously. So I know I wasn't the only person from ITW there. I know you met one of our segment IT directors there as well. It's got the attention of our company, and I'm sure there's lots of companies like us out there that should be looking at it. So from my side, it's quite good, and I'm glad that we've got to do this episode. I know I've mentioned it lots of times, but I come from the customer side, you come from the partner side, so we've got two different viewpoints of such a summit. So it's really good to come together and maybe get some of the things that stood out for you as a partner. And as me as a customer, there's going to be a whole bunch of crossover stuff. But,
absolutely.
So let's get stuck into it. So I want to start off. We'll come to some of these kind of key topics that we have, but just before that, some of the key stats that we saw. So keynote day one, they opened with some of these stats, and I'm just going to go down the list here because they're quite
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
Firstly, Acumatica number one in 76 G2 categories. That's huge.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
not something that you could have said like 5 or 6 years ago.
No, no, not at all. And it's taken a lot of work to get there. I think it's that constant product development, listening to the community, and um, really striving for those G2 reviews that are positive, right? Really working towards that. So you could tell right out of the gate that Acumatica has been working hard to gain the trust of
Mm,
the user base out there. So that's a great stat.
yeah. Another one that surprised me here is $500 billion
Yeah,
transacted through Acumatica in 2024.
yeah,
$500 billion.
yeah. I know, I know. $500 billion. It's crazy. Um, you talk about the number though. Yeah, it's a big number. At the same time, right? You look at probably bigger ERPs out there, right? The bigger in the market, maybe you look at NetSuite or maybe you look at business Microsoft or whatever it is, right? They're probably way past this number, but
Mm,
considering where Acumatica started and how
yeah,
quickly they are building momentum
right.
and and market share, I think that's a huge achievement, a huge
Yeah,
accomplishment, which is probably even going to accelerate faster. I think because it's
yeah,
a lot of the changes that they're doing and updates they're making to the product.
yeah. And I think that's an impressive stat given their original stance on what the ERP is tailored. Well, I wouldn't say tailored for, but most suited for. We know
Hmm.
that FNSCM is more suited to the big enterprise ERPs,
Yep.
which naturally would have more revenue. NetSuite the same.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if and we shouldn't really, but if we thought or described Acumatica as a perfect ERP for SMB,
Hmm.
um, that's an impressive stat if
Yeah.
that's where they come from. And we know that's changing. They're very strong on kind of multinational features. They're
Yep.
strong on intercompany features,
Hmm.
and it's relative. It's one of the youngest ERPs out there when
Yeah.
you compare it to Microsoft's longevity in this market.
Right.
Um, but yeah, you're right. If you stack this up against NetSuite and SCM or um,
Yeah.
Dynamics Business Central, then yeah, it would be lower. But
Yeah.
I think it's impressive from where Acumatica has come.
Totally. I think so. And there, you remember the licensing model is by transaction, right?
Mm,
Um, maybe more now. They've pivoted that language from transaction based to now trying to put customers in number of employee buckets. So if you have 20 employees, you're in this particular license, and that license gives you X number of transactions. So, you know, just to see that $500 billion transacted through there, impressive number. I would be interested to know, well, how many transactions was that? Right? Like, how many invoices was that? Well,
mm,
over the course of the database, right?
yeah,
And what do they measure for $500 billion? It's a great stat. I
yeah,
think I think that number is only going to get bigger and bigger, but that number is very impressive for sure.
yeah. Yeah, and we kind of see that from this next stat that they gave us 800 million screen loads in Q4 2024. That's
Mhm.
up 33% on the prior quarter.
Yeah,
Um, that's good growth. So I
great
know
growth.
we can't really deduce from that number of invoices, number of transactions, but
Yeah.
33% on screen loads goes
Hmm.
to show kind of the uptake of this platform.
Yeah, yeah, which is phenomenal. I mean, that tells me two couple things, right? First, it tells me that the infrastructure that they built on AWS, right, is strong enough. It's powerful to accept these number of loads and refreshes, right, across how many number of tenants that they
Yeah.
host, 800 million screen loads, right? Just in Q4. Like
Mm,
that's an amazing stat. And number two is that those transactions, because Acumatica was pretty much born on the cloud, right?
Yeah.
So they are all SaaS based
Yeah.
transactions primarily, right? There might be some exceptions out there. They at one point did have PCS licenses, perpetual licensing that they offered very early on. They no longer offer that anymore. But impressive stat none the least, right? It's 800 million screen loads there, so up 33%. I think that's impressive. I think that number is going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And moving on from those stats of Acumatica itself, let's move on to a stat here we've got on the summit itself, which
Yeah,
is over 80 breakout sessions now at this
yeah.
yearly summit.
Yeah, and these summits are interesting because unlike other publishers, I find the Acumatica Summit is a combo of partners and customers together. So,
Yeah.
a lot of these conferences, when it comes to ERP publishers, they'll just do um, customers separate and partners separate. They rarely ever mix them together. Acumatica Summit, I've seen does this, and they do it really well. It doesn't become contentious between partners when they bring their own customers there. We had bought our customer there last year or the year before, and they had a great time. And it's just all about knowledge sharing. So any
Mm.
one of these sessions, a partner could go to or a customer could go to,
Yeah.
and it's really neat that way because it's a big community. It really is. At the end of the day, you interact with everybody. Um, Another one interesting stat also, which I thought was really cool. I don't remember Sankit was saying this, that the number of, maybe it was in our partner General Assembly, um, the number of opportunities booked just in Q4 equaled all the opportunities booked for the whole year of 2022. Like how much interest Acumatica is
Yeah.
receiving.
Yeah. That's
That's
crazy.
That's crazy. Like the number of opportunities that they booked just in one quarter made up all the opportunities they booked in one year,
Yeah.
like 3 years before. You know,
Yeah.
just which is crazy, and that just shows you the phenomenal growth that this segment is having. This
Yeah.
this ERP segment is having. I think a lot of publishers are probably experiencing a good level of growth, but Acumatica especially is, I think, blowing away the competition in this segment.
Yep. I think you're right there. And it's great to see. So much so that it started to infect my wardrobe. If you're watching on YouTube, you might have seen that.
Yeah, yeah,
Might have
yeah.
picked up the swag.
I
But
know.
you're right; those kind of growth stats are great to see,
Hmm.
and it's really those growth stats rather than just like the one metric. It's like the growth stat gives you the context of just how much this platform's growing.
Yeah, you need confidence too, right? The publisher is pretty confident when they're releasing these numbers that um, where that any customer or prospect is behind a strong solution,
Yeah.
and you want that feeling being a customer, right, and a prospect. If you start off with a product that is not really known in the marketplace, right, is still proving itself. There's some positive pros and cons to that. But if I'm a 20-25 million dollar company and I'm evaluating, well, here, where should I invest in the
Hmm.
future of my business and which technology, I'm going to look for a product that is well received in the marketplace,
Yeah.
that has a lot of backing, right? That has a lot of success stories at the end of the day. And Acumatica is that publisher out there that has everything that a growing company would want to take their business to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So let's get into what we saw and some of the key takeaways, key highlights that we saw over the 3 days. So I
Yeah.
think some of this is kind of in line with how it was presented to us, but we'll chop and change around a little bit. Firstly, keynote one, first day is really the partnership now, um, the partnership playing field that they're starting to do, uh, deepen a deepened partnership with Shopify. They actually
Mhm.
had Shopify there on the stage as well. an ADP integration,
Yep.
which is huge, especially for things like payroll, billable hours of
Hmm.
employees. It's great to see the push still to integrate more and more with these other platforms.
Yeah, I mean, these are best in standard, right?
Mm.
These different point solutions are best in standard in the industry. ADP is the go-to for payroll around the country, probably around the world, if not.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, Shopify, obviously, one of the biggest e-commerce platforms out there. Also, Bill.com, which is a huge AP automation solution out there. That's
Yep.
probably the biggest AP automation solution out there, Bill.com, right? So
Hmm.
these are strategic moves, right?
Yeah.
And Acumatica does it for a reason. And they do it because they know that their solution complements customers that already use these solutions, like on the
Yep.
side. Like customers that just use Shopify, but they don't have a backend management, inventory management system.
Hmm.
Customers that just use ADP, but they don't have any way of controlling the rest of their business, right? Customers that do Bill.com, but they don't have any other way of managing their business. So
Yeah.
these are pretty strategic moves. And what I do know is you can't just go and approach ADP, approach Shopify, approach Bill.com and say, "Hey, I'm Acumatica, and we just want to be your number one, tier one ERP provider for your customers." They just
Mm.
don't hand that out to anybody.
Yeah.
So my understanding is these relationships have gone through a rigorous vetting where Acumatica is assigned a tier one relationship as an affiliate vendor to these companies at the end of the day. So
Mm.
it's a huge deal when you think about it, because all those customers in their network, when they need an ERP system, they're going to go and recommend Acumatica because they've already vetted it,
Yep.
trusted it, and say this is the best ERP system that our system is going to integrate to
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yep.
So I think it was a very, very wise choice by Acumatica to find these solutions, to establish a relationship and partnership with them, um,
Yep.
and um, and continuing bringing best in breed solutions to their customer
Hmm.
base.
Yeah. Certainly sends out a strong message.
Hmm.
Good. So we're just over 10 minutes into this episode. So we've lasted 10 minutes before we said AI. That's pretty good going.
The next 30 minutes are going to be all about AI.
um, Artificial intelligence, Acumatica Labs.
Who
So
is
there were
that? Who is
three
that? Who is that AI? I've never heard of her.
AI. Oh, yeah. Well, it's your new god, your new overseer.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, All hail AI. So, three major areas here: intelligent advisors, more automation. And I know we've talked about AP automation before, but there's some more cool stuff around AR automation, workshop floor automation, automate everything. Um,
Automate.
yep. And number three, interactive assistance. So they showed a demo of this. I 26R1, I want to say.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think it was going to go into
I think so.
preview,
Yeah.
26R1.
Yeah.
Um, interactive assistance. So a little bit like, and I shouldn't say this on an Acumatica episode, Copilot has the little Copilot sign. Acumatica has a little speech mark sign or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a chat bubble thing.
Chat bubble.
Click,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Click that, side panel comes up, much in line with the new UI, and there's your baked in LLM.
Yeah.
They showed this. They put an example in, which was what what is our sales performance today, and it goes into the ERP and shows you and looks at the profit. And then the cool thing with that is it's already built with that contextual knowledge, so it knows what you just asked it in that session, and then you can say, follow up questions, not having to refer back
Yeah.
to your initial question,
Yeah.
which is really cool. I don't see that being the majority of uses personally.
Yeah.
I think dashboards about our KPIs, charts are probably still going to win over having to type out the question in the first place. I just want to click a button and see the
Yeah.
profit. I don't
Right.
necessarily need to type
Right.
out the question. I think I see this being stronger on onboarding processes of new people, asking questions. We already know that Acumatica has a strong help guide with the question mark
Yeah.
that's kind of already context aware with the screen that you're on, which is
Yep.
great. I
Feel
see
sensitive. Yeah.
this, yeah, I see this new interactive assistant being really good for this
Yeah.
because not only has it got the guide, it's got the context of your business.
Yeah.
So I think
That's.
that's where it's going to be strong.
I think that's great. Every publisher has to do something like this now, right? It's like, or you're not. Are
Mm,
you even in ERP anymore? Right?
yeah.
Are you even like concentrating on what your customers should be doing at the end of the day? So this is great because Acumatica has this opportunity, amazing opportunity to create something very special with AI. I don't know if you were at that session where Miten Mehta, the chief engineering officer, hosted a specific AI session.
I was in a different session.
Yeah, so he went through a pretty interesting scenario, interactive assistance, similar to what you're talking about, where he created these prompts. So his premise was like, when there's cases, Acumatica cases, you log a case, support case with
Yeah.
Acumatica, and once there's a resolution, there's very little information that summarizes that case, right? After it's been
Oh no,
closed.
yeah. They showed that on day two keynote, like a
Yeah,
little
that's right.
summary of that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was really interesting because you're able to take and write prompts, right? And rules on it, and it will go based on some triggers, intelligently go review all those case notes and put it in the format that you're looking for and automatically insert it at the end of closing the support case.
Yeah, no, I do remember seeing that because we it was a joke at the time saying everyone knows what the case notes are like once the bug's been resolved. It just says
Exactly.
bug
Exactly.
resolved.
Yeah.
That's it. Move on to the next one.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, this was really cool. I think I've probably got a slide. Hopefully, I'm putting a slide up in a minute for this.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're watching this, but there was a bit about the prompt editor. There was a designer where you could design the
Yeah.
prompt,
Yeah.
right?
It's
So
UI based.
you
Yeah.
could just put into it, write up the case notes. But because it knows the prompt for doing that, it wouldn't just like put it in prose. It would actually put subheadings of
Mm-hmm.
case notes, like
Yeah.
here's the key points. This is what the customer said. Here's what we did to resolve it. Like it had a formatted,
Yeah.
it had a structure to the case notes rather
Yeah.
than just
Exactly.
a paragraph
Exactly.
of text. Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool.
That was cool. That was really nice, and I could see a lot more
Yeah,
use cases around that. And that's what they kept telling us
yeah,
is like, hey, this is just one example, but you could really do a lot more of this type of automation, even
yeah,
complex automations
yeah.
around that.
This is what I love about AI, and it's the things that you don't really think of when you first think about AI. You could see that at a surface level and go, "Great, it will stop our support workers just putting bug resolved and closing it."
Right.
Point number one. Point number two is great. It's going to stop our case once you've kind of got them not doing that. Next is great. It's going to stop our caseworkers having to spend half an hour writing
Mm-hmm.
up case notes.
Yep.
Great. But then there's another part of that. The fact that the AI has this kind of machine learning side to it. I know they're two different things, AI and ML, but we
Mm-hmm.
often see it as AI/ML. The ML side of things is going to pick up that. So when you
Mm-hmm.
go to query the AI assistant and go, um, you know, I don't know, tell me about the patterns of cases, or tell me what the common resolution is to cases. It can
Exactly.
resolve um, based on that, based on what it wrote itself.
Yeah.
It can look through
Yeah.
all of the case notes that you've told it to write and then
Mm-hmm.
start to build up context on context.
Yeah.
That's like the next level kind of AI ML thing that I see,
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
that you're getting it to write these in line with the structure you want,
Yeah.
but then that data, that information, also lives in your ERP with everything else,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just starts to compound.
Yeah. Exactly. Let Real quick, let's take that example that you talked about that they did, right? Tell us what our sales performance was today. Take that example. Tell us what our sales performance was over this course of last month, and tell me my highest margined items that I sold, and try to upsell these items to my customers next month, right? And now you're looking at, okay, I'm looking at this data. This is selling a lot. I want to sell this more, right? And because I have a highest margin on it, and I want to sell more of this to my customers next month. So when I create sales orders, maybe there's a way while the order is being created, I show that or have it appear like, hey, also
Yeah,
resell this item on the sales orders.
yeah. Or gaps, or revenue gaps.
Gaps, revenue gaps in production. You could see something like, hey, show me my highest scrap for the month,
Mm,
right? And tell me which machine centers cause me the highest scrap, so I could do some preventive maintenance on that material, better
yep,
inspection, or right, check the machine before the material goes inside.
yep. Or even identify which shift is
Yeah,
causing the most amount of scrap. Maybe
yeah,
it's not actually the work center itself. Maybe it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
process with, um, you know, however your workers are. If you've got
exactly,
someone specifically tied to filling up bins of raw material, you're like,
yeah,
every time this shift is on, they seem
exactly,
to be scrapping a lot more raw material.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, someone's not reading the label on the packaging and which way
Yeah,
to insert the product.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, exactly. I think AI is going to become bigger and bigger footprint in Acumatica. This is the first year that they actually really dived into more details about it. They didn't do much of this last year. There wasn't much AI. There was a little bit, probably some sprinkles on top, a few conversations, but this time they made it a point, like really go all in.
hmm
Now,
hmm
that makes me kind of wonder, Microsoft is still ahead of the game in this.
yeah,
No doubt about it, hands down, right? Microsoft's been talking about AI, Copilot, for the past 4 years, and it's pretty heavily embedded already into, for example, Business Central. Just Copilot everywhere in
yeah,
Business Central, right? My fear is like, is Acumatica starting late, or they need to kind of speed this up a little bit? I mean, they're talking about 26R1, right? I'm almost thinking, man, they need to start putting out some functionality in 25R2 at a minimum, and start
yeah,
putting at least the AI assistant out there, and have people start using it.
yeah, yeah.
You
No, it's a
know,
good point.
so
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that was
Um,
really good Mathematica.
Yep. This came late in the 3 day conference, 3 day summit, but I'll mention it here. If we think of AI as a big development area, here's a brand new one that I was part of the session of, and it's great to see them again. You know, it's easy to say, but they are actually doing this. They did put a 2 hour session in to hear and brainstorm ideas of a new feature coming, which is the shop floor kiosk
Mm-hmm.
being developed. So this was really cool
Yeah,
because you had three people from Acumatica. One would be the development lead that's actually leading this, who showed a very kind of primitive proof of concept screen for something that would be displayed on the shop floor, and kind of, what do you think? Is this something that you can see in your business? What would you
right.
want from this? What
Yeah,
concerns do you have? And it was a 2 hour interactive session with, I think, must have been about 80, 100 people in there, a mix of mainly customers across 8 to 10 tables. We had
nice.
roundtable exercises to discuss different aspects of it, from the cybersecurity side, from the features side, from the integration side. And it's really good because they were capturing all of the ideas. They actually recorded the session so they can start to go back and think about what we said. I was quite surprised of how far developed the proof of concept was,
Okay.
but it was quite nice. So the idea of the shop floor kiosk is that a worker on the shop floor can log in, and I say in inverted commas here, log in, because there was a whole thing about what does that look like? Is that with a
Mm,
password? Is that
mm-hmm,
with Face ID? Is it with fingerprint?
mm,
What if I'm a customer where my shop floor have to wear PPE and they're wearing gloves
mm,
and they can't do fingerprint? There was the other thing about shadowing workers where it's like,
mm-hmm.
go on, log in for me and log things. So anyway, as I said, this is the idea where a worker can go in, log in to Acumatica through this kiosk and log what output has been
Mm-hmm.
created, or
Yeah,
any issues on the shift, or whatever.
that's
Some
cool.
of the cool ideas that Acumatica hadn't thought about for this would be something like triggering an alarm. So maybe you've got a raw material issue and you need a quick way of getting to the plant manager or the shift leader. Instead of wandering around the factory trying to find them, you can, and imagine if you had this kiosk at every production line, you could hit one tap, alert, and then like alert type, um, running low on raw material, or raw
Mm,
material issue, or
mm,
machine down. And that can, maybe through a business event or a notification with integration of Teams, however it looks, uh, that
that's
allows
cool.
kind of people right next to the work to be able
Yeah,
to raise
yeah,
alerts. So yeah, I'd like to see where this goes. It's difficult when you've got a room full of so many diverse manufacturers
yeah,
and distributors, that someone wants something,
yeah,
someone else wants something else.
yeah.
Then someone says, "No, that's awful. We can never have that."
Yeah,
It's a difficult thing to develop, but
yeah,
I
exactly.
think there's something there. I think there's something there.
No, that's I love that. I love that. I think shop floor kiosks are getting more and more important in the manufacturing floor. So, which is nicely. This sounds like it's being nicely put together. I didn't actually attend that session, but um, uh, the recap was nice to hear on what they're doing there.
There's other things that maybe it's not a shift. So, for example, our business, um, it wouldn't really work because a shift could be looking after running multiple work centers,
Hmm.
and that can be different dependent on how much work a machine has, or how much work is in a particular work center at one time.
Right.
That Billy Bob can float between multiple work centers. So how can he log it? So there
Yeah.
was the whole idea of maybe you can choose in preferences. Do I set this up people orientated, or shift orientated, or even machine operated,
Hmm.
or work center, however that looks. So maybe it's not that you have a worker log in,
Yeah.
you have like a passcode for the production line.
Yeah.
So anyone can walk up and go boom, boom,
Yep.
logged.
Yep. Exactly. Now, imagine down the road you put this element of VR, the virtual
Mm-hmm.
eye- eyewear.
Yeah, I mean, where do they go with this? It's easy to say, oh, do this, do that, do this, but you end up diluting it. It's like, what exactly? Otherwise, you just put a PC
Yeah.
next to it and go, right, here's Acumatica,
Exactly.
off you go. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they take all of the ideas from such a diverse user
Yeah.
group on that session, and kind of still make sure that it's differentiated from doing just that, just putting a PC next to the production line and saying, right, log into Acumatica as you normally
Yeah.
would in the back
Yeah.
office. So yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
Hmm.
Early days, but it's great to see that they're thinking about um, obviously development still with the new UI for the browser-based
Hmm.
login. Um, there was something I kind of missed it on some updates to some screens, or some new screens coming to the mobile app,
Okay.
um, but also this whole kiosk
Yeah.
setup, which is going to be a completely, I wouldn't say completely different UI, but it's a UI that's built specifically
Yep.
for this kind of kiosk thing. And whether that's on like an Android tablet or iPad or some industrial, um,
Yeah.
scanner thing with a screen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They also talked about their customer of the year. They do this every year. Their customer of the year. Um, this year it was Eastman Music Company. They have a pretty interesting story.
Mm.
Their instruments are distributed worldwide. They manufacture, they source the raw material, they manufacture, and they do distribution worldwide of their products. And since on Acumatica, they doubled their revenue. So,
Yeah.
which is great to hear. It's
Yeah.
a great story too, because they do a lot of nonprofit work and they donate instruments to a lot of schools, and a lot of the instruments are also played at the highest level, like Carnegie Hall and these really important places.
Yeah. I think they mentioned New
So
York Philharmonic, or one of the
yeah,
Philharmonics is
New
their
York
customer.
Philharmonic,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Which is really cool. When you hear stories like that, because you could tell Acumatica is making a difference.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. Good. Let's move on to some of the specific editions of
yeah.
Acumatica, because there was updates galore across all of them. There
Mm-hmm.
was, I think they did it in Keynote on the second day. They had like the leads of each edition come out and show like some pain points of how it currently is, and what the roadmap is for
Yep.
2025. But we got some
Yeah.
highlights here. So let's start with manufacturing edition
Mm-hmm.
improvements. I
Mm-hmm.
like this. Working for a manufacturer, I like this one. So we've got graphical scheduling views that show production order dependencies, especially when you've got
Mm-hmm.
multiple process flows. You've got complex bombs. It was great to see this in a graphical view. I think I've got a slide on this. I'll try and chuck it up if I have.
Yeah.
But it was that Gantt style view that you
Yeah.
could then see what sub-assembly processes need to happen before like the
Mm-hmm.
main branch can continue. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really nice, and it kind of also gives you a good view of capacity. Um, and are there any bottlenecks in your process? So everybody wants graphical things, graphical views. So that was really nice.
Moving on, distribution. I missed this
Yeah.
one. Well, I didn't say I missed it. I kind of forgot about this one. But you're right to call it out. This was really good. This was attributes at the lot or serial number level. They gave a
Yeah.
great use case of this. So basically, users can create custom fields that's attached to inventory at that level. So a great
Mm-hmm.
example that they gave us was um, like a second-hand camera reseller, and they could
Mm-hmm.
have attributes like condition of products. So you could have a condition
Mm-hmm.
that's either like mint condition, fair condition, scratched, terrible condition.
Yeah.
And the cameras one, again, I think I've got an image of this. I'll put it up if I have, which was inventory at lot number level that you could say number of scratches, and it was like a numeric field,
Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
really good because then you can start to think, well, I could price based on these,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is, I thought that was a huge that was a huge improvement in that area.
Yeah.
Um, and the second one that came kind of just is related to distribution, more on the commerce side. Guest checkout capabilities, the native Shopify connector now, which is huge. So wasn't available before. I know there's a lot of guest checkouts that happen. I do guest checkout often. I don't
Hmm.
want to create an account. So Acumatica is able to support that.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. They also gave, which I quite like, they had like a single slide. I've definitely got this because I can see it on my other monitor right now, which was Acumatica 2025 R1 highlights. So they had kind of usability in general across all of the
Yeah.
editions, general kind
Yeah.
of technological highlights, numeric
Hmm.
anomaly detection, improved
Yeah.
upgrade performance and patching, um, such and such. And then they had they had financials, so more bank feeds, allowing increasing authorized amounts.
Hmm.
CRM, there was some updates there. ISO 222 address format is now in. enhanced calculation of case commitments, and then there are some specific to different editions. So distribution, they did put lot and serial attributes, retail e-commerce, Amazon inventory availability reconciliation. Didn't mention that.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a big one. Shopify guest checkout, you just said. Big
Yep.
commerce as well. So another big
Big
player in
commerce.
e-commerce. Base price
Yep.
currency, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturing
Mm-hmm.
scheduling views, production orders by build capacity, forecast
Yep.
side panels, again, linking
Yeah,
into the
that was
new
good.
UI. Yeah, that was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That
Um,
was good.
construction, um, probably one of the smallest additions or smallest user base,
Yeah.
but there was some nice stuff there. Enhanced billing workflow, which is pretty good. A simplified project inventory processing.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. That was
pretty
pretty
good.
good.
A little bit more on the reporting side for construction projects. I think the biggest one here, finally, is the modern UI is now
Oh
going into
yeah.
GA.
Woo. Yeah. Finally. Finally.
That was a big
25R1,
hurdle.
right? Coming in?
Yeah,
Yep.
25R1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, finally. Yeah, because you could get it now, but there's another way to do it. You have to kind of install a separate config file for that. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I haven't really played around with it yet. I do want to. Should probably put that on my list of things to do. But yeah, it's a really slick UI. Looks really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. It's going to show really well.
Yeah, and it's something that we spoke to our partner about out there as well. We want to be straight on it,
Yeah,
especially as
exactly.
you know, we've got to go live with June 1st.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to do all of our training before June 1st, knowing the
Yep.
modern UI, because
Mm-hmm.
we've got
Mm-hmm.
people that have never experienced Acumatica, and we don't
Yeah,
want them
and you don't want to
to
change. Yeah.
and especially UAT. Can you imagine doing UAT on the old
Oh my
UI and then
God.
you go live and it's completely different UI?
Oh
Well,
God.
I know, not completely different, but the whole
Where
side
am I
panel thing is,
here?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
the whole thing.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot more configurable, which is nice. So
Yeah,
start configuring it now.
yeah, yeah.
Great idea.
Yep.
So
Good. Now, this is the point that I completely missed, so I'm just going to hand it over to you because I can't
yeah,
remember any
no,
of this.
this is we as a gold certified partner, we have to be we have to keep up with their education certifications all the time with Acumatica. So they're uplifting that. So both for customers and partners, I guess. But their current videos and educational videos like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, just long. A lot of people don't have that type of time anymore. How do they make this more interactive? So they hired a new guy. And they are uplifting all these educational videos into more bite-sized videos for easy comprehension. So I think it's really nice. So you could always use them post-implementation, pre-implementation, during the implementation. Just really kind of really good, helpful tidbits on
Yeah.
how how Acumatica works. So I think they're doing a good job of making their information, education
Mhm.
information, a lot more understandable.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
for partners, we got to do this, and we got to take like I don't know how many hours. It was like had to have been over 200 hours of watching these videos and doing exams and stuff like that to get certified. But this is long and boring, to be honest. It just this is going to make it so much easier. So.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like going back to school, getting an MBA in supply chain management with accounting.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Good. Moving on from that, closely linked then, as we said at the start of this, I went there as a customer. You went there as a partner.
Yeah,
I wasn't even
yeah,
aware that there was partner specific sessions and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
what did you
yeah. So
take
that
out of
was,
it from a partner?
I thought, the product's moving in the right direction. As a partner, I'm proud to have Acumatica as one of my flags in our business, and we see some phenomenal growth with them. The partner ecosystem is growing. NetSuite still remains a primary competitor, and they're putting out a bunch of information against Acumatica, and then vice versa. So they're still kind of in a very much heated battle for the same type of customers. There's no change in partner margins, which are good. They did make a change a couple years ago,
Right.
big changes. So this year's they all remain the same, and there's a lot better marketing support. I think the
Hmm.
marketing and the assets that Acumatica come out with is just phenomenal. So they're investing heavily on that. It just makes our job as partners much easier
Yeah.
to continue promote their products. So that's really my takeaway. The executive team is doing really, really well in positioning Acumatica for future growth. They're invested in the LPGA, they're invested in NASCAR, they invested in Formula One, right? They're invested in all these, very high brand awareness type places to keep Acumatica in the forefront. And I think, you see Acumatica signs in airports, and they're not stopping anytime soon. I think that's like a full on blitz for
Yeah.
them to get the name out there because they know they're sitting on a great product. So why
Yeah.
not? And as a partner, it makes us feel really proud that we see their name wherever we go. So it was
Yeah.
it was great to see.
And it goes to show when you look at some of the people that have joined their board as well.
Yeah,
They've got people joining that are high up on
absolutely.
boards of
Yeah,
other ERPs from
yeah,
NetSuite, from SAP. So yeah, that goes to
yeah.
show. Good. Last couple of things. Well, one last thing, I guess, on the review of the summit for this year was
Hmm.
the after party
Yep.
held at the Win XS Club. How cool was that? What a brilliant venue to kind of close out this year's summit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a fun place. It's a great club. It's a indoor outdoor type of event.
Yeah.
A little chilly though. It's like not probably super super warm, but
Yeah.
it
But
was
did
nice.
you see the
Like
woman
it
that
really.
jumped into the pool outside?
No, I didn't see that. There's a woman that jumped in the pool.
Yeah. So it was funny because we were walking around, kind of meeting and greeting people. We came back round and we joked at the time because it was quite busy on one side that you get those sun lounges that are kind of in the shallow bit of the
Yeah.
water, so you can sit in there. I had to jump across, like bunny hop across one of them, and my boss said, "Oh, make sure you don't fall in." Kind of laugh, laugh. And as we
Yeah.
walked around, we got chatting to another customer, and then there was this almighty splash behind us. And some woman intentionally, she didn't like fall in. The
What?
woman just jumped into the pool and started like doing the backstroke.
No
Yeah,
way.
like
What?
in her clothes. Well, obviously in her clothes. She wasn't naked, but
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
in like her going out clothes. Crazy.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, it gets
yeah,
pretty wild, I guess.
yeah, I guess. So. I mean, that's the wildest it got. Well, but yeah, can believe it. But no, really good
Wow.
venue. Great to see. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, it was fun. It was fun. It was great. It was a great event. I think that's a really nice exercise club is really, really cool. So,
yeah, yeah,
it
which
was
is
a
good.
great party.
Yeah, but, and this is onto our last point here, that is the last time that there's going to be an after party at this XS Club
Yeah. Yeah.
because the contract is up. Acumatica
Yep.
will not be in Las Vegas from next year.
Right.
Where's it moving to?
Seattle.
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 So, not too impressed. Well, I am. It's cool, but
Yeah.
Seattle weather in January, yeah, not going to be the greatest. Would have been better in Florida at that time of year, but
Yeah. Agreed.
Seattle weather in
Agreed.
January, fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know.
But no, that's
But
going to be interesting. The
be
venue looked
fun.
great because they showed us that,
Venue
didn't
looked
they?
really nice.
They showed us that really early. Day one keynote, I
Yeah.
think they were like, point number 2, by the way, it's coming to Seattle. But yeah,
Yeah.
that whole conference complex, that looks really
Yeah.
cool. Roll on 2026 in
Oh
Seattle.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so. Good. Thank you. I'm glad that we did this. Well, we said we did. We walked out a keynote too. Like, there we go. That's what we're going
Exactly.
to do. We're going to
We're
show all
doing
our
it.
stuff.
We're
Yeah.
doing it.
So, yeah, it's great. Interesting times. Great to see what's coming up in 25R1. I'm sure we'll shoot an episode once that releases with some of our highlights that we see in 25R1.
Yep.
But yeah, a strong start to the year. Building on
Mm-hmm.
some great growth numbers in 2024.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it'll be great to dig into some of this distribution stuff, especially
It
when
will
we
be.
get our hands on that attributes at lot and serial number level. That'll be cool.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Good. Thank you very much. Great to attend a summit with my friend here, Nirav Shah.
That's right.
Great to come together
Absolutely.
again with customer side and partner side. So
Always.
should always give you a chance here. If you're listening to this and you want to learn more from maybe you're from a customer and you're looking at moving away from QuickBooks and getting onto an actual ERP, Nirav, where can they find you?
Yeah, my email is going to be down below in the caption, nirav.shah@adserviceerp.com. Happy to answer any questions there. And if not, we like to just share knowledge in the ERP space. And if there's anything particular you'd like to hear from either a partner side or a customer side, let us know. And we'll love to have that as a future topic for our podcast.
Good, thank you. And don't forget that these episodes come out every 2 weeks. So make sure that you find us on all major podcast platforms. We also shoot this for YouTube. So if you have a look at our back catalogue, you'll see that some say demo next to them, which won't really make much sense if you're just listening to us, especially when we're showcasing some things on the screen and you say, oh, look at this. It doesn't really mean much when you've only got the audio. So search for us on YouTube as well, but also check out Apple Podcasts, Spotify, name any podcast platform.
Name any platform.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you once again. Enjoy the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
And I'll catch you on the next episode.
You got it.